समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
In a dramatic escalation today morning, the United States of America has formally entered the war against Iran. While Trump kept everybody guessing by statements like giving Iran 2 weeks and thinking of what to do within those 2 weeks, he surprised everyone by not tacoing this time. I hope you know what taco is here, right? That Trump always chickens out. And this time, people are saying that he did not chicken out. And by that, he also joined the unbroken legacy of all American presidents ordering strikes in the Middle East. At the heart of this tectonic shift lies a set of precision airstrikes done by B-2 bombers carrying the most penetrative weapon ever, the GBU-57, targeting Iran's most fortified nuclear facility, which is Fordo, as well as those in Natanz and Isfahan. So what exactly happened as we woke up today? In the early hours of the operation, 3 B-2 bombers flew 37 hours non-stop from Missouri and refueled mid-air, reportedly dropping the full payload of GBU-57 bombs on the Fordo nuclear facility and others too. Since one B-2 bomber can carry 2 GBU-57s, US has used at least 6 of those MOPs against Iran. Now, Fordo is a site that has long been considered virtually untouchable by conventional means, and I'm sure you have read and seen a lot of reports around it. It is located deep beneath a mountain and specifically designed to withstand aerial attacks. Fordo was where, according to a recent IAEA report, Iran had enriched uranium to 60% purity, which is quite close to weapons grade. The strike on Fordo represents a historic moment. Why? Because this is the first time the GBU-57 has been used in combat. One could refer to it as the grandfather of all bunker busters, because the father of all bombs and the mother of all bombs do exist, but they do not match the capabilities of the GBU-57. So it is a 30,000 pound heavy bomb which is capable of penetrating 200 feet of reinforced concrete. Now, until now, only its smaller cousin has been used once in Afghanistan with less dramatic effect. So all aircraft involved in this particular operation have returned safely, as Donald Trump has already updated us. There have been no American casualties, and a public address by Donald Trump confirms that everything is going as per his plan. He has also congratulated the US military for its unmatched prowess. But the question to ask is, has Fordo capabilities have completely been destroyed? And here we need to look at the operational details. Now, the thing is that the operational details, which are in military parlance known as battle damage assessments, or the BDAs, are still emerging. And as long as they do not come, we will not be able to have a more precise understanding of what really is the extent of those damage. But preliminary information also suggests that it may not be so easy to completely destroy the facilities of enriched uranium. According to some statements made by Iran, they had already moved the enriched uranium, almost 400 kilograms, to safer sites, anticipating this attack. Now, it is noteworthy that Israel, ever since it started these strikes, the Operation Rising Lion on June 13th, had focused more on disabling electricity supplies to the Natanz centrifuges, potentially causing them to spin out of control. But as far as Fordo is concerned, I think Israel knew from the very beginning that the US support is indispensable. This moment marks a stunning reversal for President Trump, who has won his re-election campaign on promises of avoiding foreign military entanglements. Initially hinting at restraint, Trump has now jumped headfirst into a regional war. His dramatic exit from the G7 summit in Canada to return to Washington did suggest a sense of urgency, But then it was diluted for a while by his 2-week window to take decision. But then the actions of today morning have taken even his own MAGA base by surprise. So the key question here is what comes next? Now, in my opinion, Iran has 4 options. Iran is unlikely to take this attack lying down. While the first set of response has been mellow, Iran has already launched some more missiles in Israel. So Iran could retaliate based on the following options. And please keep in mind that there are some options which are most likely and some that are most dangerous under prevailing circumstances. The first is Iran could hit the US bases in Iraq. Iran may target these due to Iraq's weak defense posture, making it the most likely attack. The second option is that it could close the Strait of Hormuz. And if you really look at the data, tankers are avoiding the strait, which is a major choke point for global trade, and especially for oil. Iran could threaten or block it entirely, but it would impact global oil prices and may also draw in other factors. The third option is the US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. A strike here would be an act of war and would have dangerous repercussions, pushing up the escalation ladder significantly. And the fourth option is the CENTCOM headquarters in Qatar. This would also escalate the conflict into direct war with the US and would be as dangerous. And then there is a possibility of Iran launching the Shia militant groups in Syria and Iraq and wreaking some havoc through them. And at least as a possibility, this exists. In the short term, global oil prices are expected to spike, reflecting the fragile energy routes now under threat. But let's now for a moment come back to what the domestic fallout of the US is looking like. The strike has created a political storm back home. I'm sure you have seen what Tucker Carlson has been saying, who has publicly warned Donald Trump against involvement, military involvement that is, and he is going to find himself sidelined. And in a way, it also exposes his limited influence on key security matters. But I think more serious and noteworthy is the public sidelining of Tulsi Gabbard, who has been serving as the Director of National Intelligence, or DNI. And she has tried to recalibrate her narrative once it has become clear that her anti-interventionist narrative building has no traction with Trump, at least in this regard in the Middle East. And her quick repivoting to retain her importance in Trump's circle, I think will be welcomed by Indians, many of whom see her as a sympathetic voice. Now let's talk about Russia. In my opinion, Russia's no role and no skin has been again recognized. Moscow, which has been closely aligned with Tehran and has been getting a steady supply of Shahed drones from it against Ukraine, finds itself getting invisible after its close allies, first Assad in Syria, then Hezbollah, and now the Iranian regime itself getting significantly weakened. Now, despite warnings from Putin, Trump has gone ahead with the strikes, and this speaks volumes of Russia's lessening bandwidth to deter US actions in areas it claims to influence. For Iran, it is a bitter moment of unprecedented strategic loneliness. As far as China is concerned, of course, China supports the Iranian regime, has massive investments there, but so far it has done nothing to overtly help the Iranian regime. Let's look at the regional response. And in my opinion, that too has been muted. So whether you look at the Arabs, Emiratis, or Qataris, all of them have remained skillfully silent and, balancing in their tone. For many Gulf states, the Iranian regime and its network of proxies has long been seen as destabilizing forces. Privately, which is behind closed doors, several leaders may view the strikes as a net positive. A swift American move to curb Iran's ambitions without regional forces having to bear the political fallout or the brunt. Now, that said, they know that they have to live with Iran, and therefore their statements are meandering in the realm of political correctness. They do not want to get involved. And now let's talk about what is in it for us. What is the Indo-Pacific cost? And is it another strategic setback for India? The most relevant consequence of the strikes may be in the Indo-Pacific, particularly for India. And why do I say that? Because the US's focus has now swung sharply back to the Middle East, pulling attention away from balancing China in Asia and Indo-Pacific. With Washington cozying up to Pakistan post-Operation Sindoor and relations with New Delhi fraying over America's alleged mediation between India and Pakistan and tightening demands on favorable trade and many other issues, America's Indo-Pacific commitments appear up in the air, at least for now. And let's see whether a lucrative trade deal between India and US can rekindle that interest. And please remember that this could get further complicated if the situation in the Middle East complicates. And here I mean if the escalation ladder further gets enhanced. So to conclude, let's see if this is an off-ramp or the on-ramp to a more devastating escalation. Where this goes from here is still uncertain. The Biden administration once described Iran as a destabilizing power and flirted with diplomacy. Trump campaigned against endless wars, and yet we are back in a familiar place. American bombers over the Middle East, oil prices rising, and an adversary vowing revenge. This could be a one-time strike meant to cripple Iran's capabilities and offer a face-saving off-ramp to both parties. Or it could be the beginning of a much longer, bloodier cycle of retaliation. But for now, one thing is clear. The GBU-57 has officially entered the theatre of war, and the world just got a lot more dangerous. I'll be back to discuss this and more. Stay tuned.